Hi there, everybody. Good Tuesday evening to you. What a day we had today, temperature wise. I mean, my goodness, it felt like summertime outside. It still feels like summertime outside. And obviously, something's amiss when you have record setting temperatures in the 70s in late February. And we certainly have just an incredible storm system to deal with. Hello to everyone joining us. First of all, if you've been on the broadcast last couple of nights, we've talked about just the incredible nature of this storm system and the fact that we've got basically upper echelon air in terms of how warm it gets this time of year out ahead of it. And then we've got lower rank air coming in behind it with some of the coldest air you can get this time of year. And some of these temperature disparities between where we are right now and where we're going across portions of the Midwest, even the region, span some 60 to even 80 degrees if you're combining what it feels like outside. Just incredible, because tomorrow at this time, we're going to be feeling like the single digits outside and even below zero when the wind gusts. So just unbelievable how big of a temperature drop we're going to have with this system. And so as a result, big, powerful storm system. There's an area of low pressure that's really been deepening over the last couple hours. It's going to go right through Northwest Indiana. That's the reason for our severe weather potential here as we go over the next couple hours. We talked about it yesterday, and I made this very clear in the post earlier that I could foresee a scenario where we don't get a drop of rain. And I saw some of you in the chat talking about that, because if you look at the radar right now, it looks like everything's going to miss us to the north, right? I want to say not so fast on that. Okay, there's more going on in the atmosphere than we think. But let me bring up the radar here. As always, it's severe weather coverage, so I'm not going to cover our sponsors. They're on the page right here. They keep the show for free. They're awesome. I have to give a shout out real quick to the Barker family, the Turbin family, and the Foray family. You guys are just awesome. Thank you so much. They bought me a virtual coffee tonight. That was just so thoughtful of you guys. I really appreciate that. And if you know, a lot of you just tune in for severe weather. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm a meteorologist. I've been doing this for 16 years now, I think. Region weather's been around for a long time as well. And it's because Northwest Indiana doesn't get the weather coverage that we deserve, right? Chicago gets Chicago coverage, and they don't care about us, and we get lake effect snow and severe weather. So that's why region weather is here. So I appreciate you finding us. My full-time job is a morning meteorologist, and my bedtime is about half an hour ago. Okay, so that's why I appreciate the coffee from the Barkers, Turbin, and the Foray family. Thank you guys very much. All right, sponsors are up above. Please support them. They're all local, family-owned businesses. That's all we work with, and they are awesome. Okay, all right, let's look. I mean, looking at the radar right now, there is a huge cluster of storms. This thing is producing hail. We have multiple tornado warnings west of Chicago, back towards the Elburn, DeKalb area. Sycamore, Paw got hit with a real strong storm. I mean, these are some real powerful storms, and they got going in a matter of hours as we were waiting for the cap to erode. So the cap in the atmosphere, we had it all day long. We were expecting it all day long. And we're watching for it to erode. Basically, what that is a lid on the atmosphere. So the air wants to rise. There's plenty of ability for the air to lift, but there's a little layer up above in the air that gets warmer rather than colder, because the air is supposed to get colder as it goes up. That's how it rises and condenses, right? And a little warm layer or a lid on the atmosphere was there. So the clouds couldn't develop into big thunderstorms today. And that cap was expected to erode as we bring in colder air aloft, as that cold air from the system starts to come in up above us. And that cap has eroded out towards the west. And immediately, once that cap goes away, boom, go the clouds upwards of 35, 40,000 feet in some cases. So a real impressive storm system, creating some real impressive storms right now. But these storms are northwest of us. We're starting to see them kind of curl around. So we're not out of the woods with these yet. However, the models, and especially the HRRR, which I was following along with earlier today as kind of the best case scenario, the HRRR kind of grabbed onto the scenario where these big storms develop and they head through Chicago. Chicago's going to get hit hard by these, but they stay just, and I mean just, northwest of Northwest Indiana. All right. Lake County near Whiting, Hammond, we'll have to keep an eye on these. Okay. But overall, it looks like the trend for these is to hit Chicago, south suburbs, and it's just going to barely clip the state line there. Okay. That's as of right now. The reason why I say not so fast, we've got two things going for us here. Cold front still out towards the west. I'm going to throw a bunch of numbers on here. If you get close to your screen, you'll be able to see it. They're going to be real small, but I'm doing this for, these are your station plots. Okay. These are literally the temperature, the METAR sites that are showing air temperature, wind direction, all that stuff. If you can't see these, it's fine. I'm going to kind of give you an example here. We're still in the 60s in the region, okay? 60-degree temperatures. We're 63, 64, 65, okay? We've got dew points that are approaching 60 degrees, which is incredible for this time of year. The dew point measures how humid it feels outside. You can smell it outside. There's an energy in the atmosphere. It's not bone dry. We've got some humidity around. It definitely feels like a spring day, right? But then off towards the west, we've got this area of 70-degree air with dew points around 60. And that's what really kickstarted where the highest CAPE is, or available energy for the atmosphere. That's what kickstarted these storms. But then just west of that, Quad Cities right now, the wind just shift. They went from 72 at the Illinois-Iowa state line down to 66 in a matter of minutes. But then you go west of there a good 20 miles and it's in the 30s. You go west of there another 40 miles and it's in the 20s. And then you go west of there another 40 miles or so and it's in the teens. There is incredibly cold air already getting into areas of western Illinois with this system. Meanwhile, we're baking in this springtime atmosphere. Just incredible. And as that cold air is flying into the system, right, and the low pressure is pulling it all in, as that cold air is coming in, that's where we're seeing the initiation of these storms. Initially, that's where you get the biggest push of air because cold air is heavy, dense. It sinks. And when it sinks, it can't go into the ground. So it goes out. So that cold air is rushing in and it's creating lots of lift on the front end of that. And that's certainly what we're seeing here. So what we have going for us is that the front's not here yet. Okay, the front is still out towards the west. It is right now at the Illinois-Iowa state line. Our severe threat is not over until that heads by. The other thing is, and I'm going to get into my other maps here to show you, and two things I want to show you here. I want to show you the modeling, okay? Here's the HRRR model. This is the latest run, fresh off the block, probably 10 minutes old, and it picks up on these storms really nicely in northern Illinois. But watch what it does, and this has been consistent over the last two runs. It develops storms on the southern flank of this right over northwest Indiana, okay? Is that going to happen? We're going to have to wait and see, all right? But it's in the modeling. If this was not in the modeling, whether that's driven by outflow boundaries or if it's just our instability and another little puff of air going up to create that, it doesn't matter. But if it wasn't in the modeling, I would say we're in the clear with this, okay? We're going to thread the needle, storm cluster to the north. We'll see another bigger one develop down towards the south. The models have picked up on that nicely. Storm Prediction Center has as well. Where downstate Indiana, down towards Kentucky, southern Ohio gets hit pretty hard over the next 2-3 hours. We see it develop, and then overnight we see that really, become a decent area of storms. So, earlier today it looked like we were going to thread the needle between both of these waves, the one heading up towards Chicago, the other one down to the south. But this is kind of a new development, and these are the latest runs of the HRRR, and they have the latest data in them. And the problem is we have to kind of keep that in mind as we go over the next couple hours. Does something develop down, near Kankakee County, Will County, and does it head into northwest Indiana? Okay, that's still on the table, unfortunately. So I can't clear us out. I can't say we're done. If this does develop, these would be supercells, and these would be capable of everything that those northern Illinois system, their storms are doing right now, which is very large hail, damaging winds, and yes, a tornado threat. So we're not quite out of it yet. Hopefully this doesn't develop, okay? The same thing happened this morning. We had that warm front go through overnight last night, right into the morning hours, and it took forever for those storms to fire off of it. They didn't fire till they got over towards eastern Ohio and Pennsylvania, right? The modeling had it developing in eastern Indiana. Not that we were expecting a lot of storms last night, but the potential was there, and it didn't fire up till, another 100 miles out towards the east. So hopefully that's the case with this. It's over generating these storms a little too quickly, but because that's in the modeling, we're going to have to keep a close eye on it. Okay. Once that heads out, the frontal boundary should arrive late this evening, like probably 11 o'clock or so Central Time, maybe 10. I would say 11. It's on the state line right now. It'll be at our state line, probably a couple hours, 4 hours or so. Either way, once that arrives, our severe threat's over. Okay. Once those temperatures start crashing, we're done. Okay. We may have some leftover showers. All right. I'm going to get back to the radar in a second. I want to show you Storm Prediction Center because this is what, this is the map that gets tweeted out or X'd out, whatever you call it, all day. This is what everyone's raving about. And this is what has everyone saying it's doomsday around here. Okay. I continue to stress, and I hope you never get that message from me. Okay. I told you yesterday we're going to be able to handle this and that we might not even get rain out of it. So I just wanted to plant that seed, but the atmosphere is structured to produce big storms. So we do need to take it seriously. All right. I continue to preach, and Storm Prediction Center is great. Okay, they're great at what they do. They have one job, and that is to provide the public with a good knowledge of where severe weather is going to develop. Okay, they're not always right. Okay, and I'm not saying they're wrong here, but today when this enhanced risk got extended into Northwest Indiana, everyone is flipping out. I can't tell you how many messages I got. Oh my goodness, like, I'm scared of storms, where's my tornado shelter, all this stuff. Pump the brakes, everybody. Just pump the brakes. It'll be okay. All right. As long as we're prepared for it. They extended this enhanced risk in Northwest Indiana. And if this does not develop over the next couple hours, then there will be no reason why that should have been extended, right? I feel like the extension of it was a little bit too far to the south. And we didn't know this. I mean, we're all predicting the future here. There was nothing on radar, and I get it. However, the freak out mode needs to not happen until the storms actually start happening, right? Because until then, it's just a forecast. And I just saw a little bit too much hype around this enhanced risk today, the big tornado threat, stuff like that. All right, not to say it's not going to happen. We still have a couple hours to get through. But the tornado risk, 10% within 50 miles, that's a very high risk for any time of year. And they've got it right over Northwest Indiana, including just south of Chicago. And again, that's a little far south from where the storms are right now. So we'll see if something material is there. Atmosphere is ready to go, but does it go? That's a big question. There's your wind damage potential, and hail is the biggest deal with this. That hail really ramped up. I didn't see this as being quite the hail threat as it's become over the last couple days. So there's that. All right, so that's the Storm Prediction Center stuff that we've had kind of ongoing. So here we go as we go through time. Couple other facts. A lot of you have tracked with me convective available potential energy. This is atmospheric juju. How much energy does the atmosphere have? And you can see areas in yellow. There's a lot of energy in areas of Illinois right now. However, this is translating eastward. So we have plenty of energy in that atmosphere to be able to support severe weather. All right, even locally here in Northwest Indiana, a lot of times in the summer, they'll have it out towards the west. And a lot of times we won't have it here in the region. So we'll have that big squall line that moves in, and then it's a big nothing burger for Northwest Indiana. Not the case tonight. We do have enough energy to continue to sustain these storms as they move in. Again, that big question is, do they move in or not? All right. This southern appendage, it's interesting. The southern appendage of the storm that's heading into areas west side of Chicago right now is kind of interesting. I'm going to zoom in if I can a little bit closer here. I'm going to throw some counties on here so we can get a better read of where these are. I don't want to switch apps. I do have that, good radar app that I was showing you guys for the stream. I don't want to switch to that quite yet because I want to keep an eye on forecast mode here. And I don't want to have to shut down graphics and go back to another one just for broadcast sake, because that's just not pretty for everyone to look at. But let's add counties to this so we can kind of see what we're dealing with here in terms of the movement. And look at the storm. So we had supercells initially. The whole thing is, it almost looks like it's being affected by a lake influence just a little bit. Because remember, that water temperature out of the lake is freezing cold. So there's a dome of cold air out over that. So that will affect some of these storms. Most of them are elevated. They're way up in the atmosphere, so they wouldn't be too affected by it. But it's kind of interesting to see how this one has kind of blossomed and going to the north. And then the second appendage on the backside is starting to curl in here. Either way, Chicago's going to get hit pretty hard from this. DuPage County is going to get hit hard from this. Northern Will County. Does this sneak into Northern Lake County over the next hour? All right, that's going to be the big question here. It is severe. We've had tornado warnings with it as well. And there are multiple tornado warnings that now extend as close as Aurora right now with the newest warning. There's also within this just a line of hail. The hail is incredible. And there's several kinks within this that are producing those tornado warnings. So really interesting as this continues to evolve here. We'll see how this kind of swings into the area. I have a feeling it's going to stay northern Lake County, though we'll have to keep an eye on it because this could come just across the northern part of the county and clip our lakeshore areas. So we'll need to keep a close eye on as we go throughout the evening here, okay? So that's what we're dealing with right now. I don't see any further development down towards the south. This is ground clutter down here. That's good news. And you can kind of see this boundary here. See right here, very faintly on there, you can see kind of this little thin line that's showing up with just some of the ground clutter on there. That is our actual cold front, okay? That's the surge of cold air coming into us. So the way this storm's going to work for Chicago, they're going to get hit with some strong winds. I mean, they have a tornado threat even downtown, all the suburbs from this as this continues to move in. So if you have friends or family there, make sure you're letting them know. I'm sure they're weather aware. At least I hope they would be. But they've got, this storm to move in. They'll have damaging winds, some large hail from this, perhaps tornado or two with this if this continues. But then the temperature, once the bad part of the storm goes by and there's still a lot of rain around, their temperature is going to crash. I mean, they're going to go from the 60s, they're actually in 70s right now. They're going to go from the 70s down into at least the 50s once the rain and storms, start to head off towards the east. It'll still be raining, and then they'll head down to the 30s. The other thing tomorrow is we have really gusty winds. Let me touch on that real quick. We'll go kind of into forecast mode here. I do like the HRRR in terms of this too, so we'll go ahead and stick with the HRRR. Here's your temperatures. Just incredible. All right, here's over the next couple hours. That's what I'm talking about, 60s to 40s. So this is around midnight. 1, 2, 3. We're in the 50s into the 40s. 4, 5, 6. Here's your morning rush hour in the 30s and dropping. Wind is going to be cranking tomorrow morning out of the northwest. And then we just continue to drop all day long. You think we'd warm up in the afternoon? We don't. We'll fall into the low 20s and we'll stay there. A lot of you had asked about snow. We have a lot of snowplow drivers that we work with Region Weather. And you asked about snow. I still don't see a lot of snow with this. I do think it will be snowing in spots tomorrow morning for that rush hour. Disgusting, right? After what we just went through. But I don't see a lot of accumulation out of this. This is what the HRRR says. Yeah, maybe a brief window of snow here. This is for that morning rush, 6, 7 o'clock, and then it's out of here. We will have some lingering lake effect, especially southwest lower Michigan. LaPorte County may have some lake effect ongoing for maybe a couple hours later. But dry air is going to come in pretty quickly, and that will erode not just the clouds that we start with tomorrow morning, but it'll erode the snow by afternoon as well. Let's see how much the HRRR is thinking now. So just a cosmetic coating, but still a coating of snow after we were in the mid-70s. Boy, that is just rough. That is rough. So we'll see how that goes, okay? All right, so that's what we've got there. And then long-term, obviously, if you guys were with me, was that last night we covered it? No, it was Sunday night. During the broadcast on Sunday night, we talked about the long-term, like 10, 15 days, and we warm up. This next weekend looks awesome, like so awesome. I mean, we're going to have temperatures 60s, approaching 70 again this upcoming weekend. But the difference is we're not going to have these rain and storm chances. We're going to have sunshine mixed with clouds. It's really going to be something else. So I'm really excited for this upcoming weekend, and I hope you guys are putting that on your radar, pun intended, that we're going to have really nice weather this weekend. We can make some plans now. Okay. So here are storms right now. Let me throw watches and warnings on here because we still have tornado warnings with hours. You can see kind of the history of this. All the red boxes there, those are all your tornado warnings as they track along with those storms. And then your severe thunderstorm warnings as they have been issued are in yellow. We're probably going to get new severe thunderstorm warnings, probably DuPage and Cook counties here in the next, I would guess, 5 to 10 minutes or so as the storm is on their doorstep. We'll see if they continue with the tornado warning. Let me check real quick just to see what's going on with the circulation within that. Yeah, there's still plenty of little kinks within that may be producing a tornado. So I would imagine DuPage County would probably have a tornado warning. I would guess they would issue one maybe 10 minutes from now for DuPage County. All right. Cook County, maybe not yet. It's getting close. But these storms will be in the Schaumburg area before, like Elgin, then Schaumburg, before they're in the Naperville downtown area. Okay. They're kind of northwest heavy here in terms of where they are right now. So big question, just to recap here, is do these storms clip Northwest Indiana, or do we remain unscathed from this? Other question I have is, do these thunderstorms on the modeling right here develop? All right. And I could see that just from past experience of forecasting. I could certainly see a situation where, let me get this out of here. I could see a situation where these storms go out over the lake, and then because they're out over the lake, we get a little bit of an outflow that kicks off more storms here in Northwest Indiana. Okay. I could certainly see that happening. So I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but once we get these by, we're done. Okay. That cold air will be here. We won't have anything else to deal with. So this is really it. We'll continue to watch this. Okay. All right, man, let me ask or get some of your questions going here. Mandy says, what's Mandy say here? Oh, no, that's not Mandy. Skylar's saying, hi, Mom. That's awesome. Mandy says, what is the timing if those storms do pop up in Northwest Indiana? Mandy, great question. So that would be, gosh, another hour, maybe another hour. So we're talking 8 o'clock, between 8 and 8:30. That's when I would think. One second. Hey, who's playing the piano right now? Emmy, is that you? Who's playing piano? Wyatt? It's beautiful. Oh my gosh. It's unbelievable. I don't even know who's playing the piano right now. They won't answer me. And again, a lot of you are new. I'm sorry. I'm a dad of 4. Okay, we've got 4 in this house, and I used to have an office in the basement. This is my hobby. Okay, my day job is the morning news. So I just want you to know, this isn't like they get put in the basement at my mom's house. Anyway, I'm sorry. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh, I used to be and I had my own little room in the basement. It was fantastic. It was quiet. Internet was a little sketch. But then we moved up here and it's great, but there are no doors to close the kids out. And so a lot of you, Sunday nights, we do our broadcasts every Sunday night. And I have updates all week. We're on the radio here in Northwest Indiana, all the stations. But outside of that, Sunday nights, sometimes my kids make an appearance because they just will not either go to bed. And God bless my wife. She's the one that puts them to bed on nights like this. Normally I'm helping before my bedtime. But anyway, sorry. You guys are so sweet. I like all your comments. Timothy says never safe from the kids. Frida says kids are awesome. Crystal, yes, she says thank you for having us as a hobby. For sure. So I would just a side note, we'll get back to weather. I know you guys don't really care about personal stories, but if you don't know, I was the chief meteorologist, and this is my first weather job. It was at WYIN, Lakeshore Public Television in Maryville, and that's how this whole thing got started. I was there for 6 years. They decided to not do TV news anymore. If any of you remember Lakeshore Public Television, it was me, it was Jody Jewell, Joe Arredondo, Tommy Williams, who works at the Railcats, just well-known names in the region. We did broadcasts every night. It was awesome. I love them so much. It was a great place to get my start in meteorology. And so when they stopped doing TV, they went more towards radio, right? There was this big void, and I knew it right away. I'm like, who's going to cover North weather? Chicago certainly doesn't do it. They do it every now and then. But either way, that's where Region Weather started. And I developed, I just made a Facebook page and I kept updating it. And it's for the rest has been history. Down in Georgia, I worked at an NBC station down there as the chief. I got to start a news station basically, and I got to develop the weather team. It was awesome. Great experience. And we kept Region Weather going. And then now I'm in the Cleveland area, and I was an evening meteorologist, but they just bumped me up to mornings, which is great. And we keep doing Region Weather, and it's wonderful. And so we have a wonderful community. You guys are all just fantastic. I mean it. And I do this to keep you safe, obviously, but I also through the chat, you guys, a lot of you know each other, and you guys can share information and stuff like that. And that's what I love about it, is that, everyone's here to talk weather for Northwest Indiana, and keep each other safe, saying, hey, I have hail at my house, this is heading your way, whatever it happens to be. So I just want you guys to know that's why I do it. All right. Because you are my friends and family. That's kind of my history. And I also want you to know that there are kids loose in my house. Okay. So the broadcasts aren't always going to be pretty. There's a mess. I can't tell you the stuff that's on the floor in this room. There's like puzzle pieces everywhere. But we still do it. Okay. And we're still going to continue to do it because I absolutely love the community here in Northwest Indiana. Okay. All right. So here's our storm right now. Let's see if they got the new warning out. I'm going to switch to my other app real quick. And by real quick, I mean, it probably is going to take a little while. So let's get out of here. Okay, 1 second. Bear with me here. I'm gonna shut down. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out how to do this because I usually don't do this on a broadcast. Okay, let's see. All right, good. We're up and running over there. So I'm going to switch to radar mode. We're going to get out of forecast mode. We'll let it load because it takes a while because there's a lot of data on it. And then we'll switch around and we'll go radar mode from here on out. Okay. That way we can keep an eye. Okay, so let me switch this real quick. One screen. There you go. And then let's share. Let me stop that screen real quick. And we're going to share another screen. Someone's playing piano again. Let the music just relax you, whatever they're playing. Here we go. All right, there we are. As easy as that. All right, so now we're in radar mode. We can get into these storms. We can dissect them. I mean, this is my bread and butter. I absolutely love getting this storm. These storms are still west of us, and that's the reason why there's no panic in my voice. Okay, there's no reason for alarm. We're not getting any storms right now. These storms may even miss us to the north, but we're going to keep our eye on the southern appendage of these as they continue to roll out towards the east. And the question remains: do these storms, as they continue to translate east, do they clip our northern Indiana counties? And also, on top of that, do we end up seeing some kind of outflow from these storms and from the cold air out over the lake that kick off more storms further inland? All right. That's all going to transpire in the next hour and a half. Okay. That's kind of where we're headed here in terms of the forecast. Okay. These are monster storms. There's a ton of lightning with these. The hail's impressive. We can start to look at some of that stuff if we want here. Let me show you first and foremost the wind within these. So we talk about this all the time. When you look at the radar, you typically see all the bright colors. Okay. Those bright colors, that's reflectivity. That doesn't tell you if it's severe. It doesn't tell you if you have a tornado. It tells you how heavy the rain is, essentially. Okay. If there's hail in it, or ice, whatever it happens to be, that can show some bigger, that can certainly show some bigger reflectivity values. Okay. But in terms of the tornadoes, you have to look at the wind within that system. And we also have a radar to do that. That's called velocity. You've heard that before. So what we're dealing with here, I agree with all these warnings. They've had wall clouds with these in the past. There's a little kink right there. You look for these little tiny boats that come in there, because what that tells you is you've got inflow coming in, wind like that and wind like that. Okay. And there's several of those little kinks within the line that bear warning with this. So that Aurora one went away. And the reason why it's a little bit flatter there, they're still keeping that Batavia one because we've still got a little something going on right there. And then this one off towards the north, there's two little kinks within that. It's not too clear of a picture right now on that, but all those do bear warning. So Weather Service in Chicago, they always do a wonderful job at issuing these warnings. So there's that. A lot of you talking right now that you, Jane, I see your comment there that we have a severe thunderstorm warning in Hammond. It doesn't actually go into Lake County. You can see it here. It's this big orange box. Basically what they have done, let me go back to radar mode real quick. Basically what they have done, and rightfully so, they have issued just a giant severe thunderstorm watch for this line as it continues to advance east. Okay, so here's our line right now. Here's our line. They've issued a severe thunderstorm watch for all this area so that everyone can be alert, and they got the alert and they know something's coming. Okay, does it get down in these southern counties? Does this portion of it fill in? We'll see. We'll see what happens. This does look like maybe we're starting to develop just a little bit of a southern appendage that may be gushing out kind of like that. Okay, that would bring this line into our northern counties. All right, over the next, we're down to about 45 minutes now before this line moves in. Okay, 2 tornado warnings with this. Again, we are under tornado watch. That goes until 10 o'clock. We'll have a cold front through here. This is going to be one of those tonight that we have a giant temp drop. And as soon as that temperature starts dropping, we're severe weather clear. Okay. Severe weather does not like cold temperatures at all. They like warm, moist atmospheres. And that's what we have today. All right. All right. Let's get back to some of your questions. Let's see what we've got here. James and Nancy, thanks for joining us tonight. That's a great question. How long will we have to watch out for these storms? We've probably got, I would say, another 2 hours, 2.5 hours with this to keep an eye out. And I know a lot of people coming and going through the broadcast, and I get that. So I will repeat some of the information. There's a new tornado warning up in just north of Schaumburg for some rotation up there. Notice the trend, though. I mean, most of the tornadic activities up here, okay? And that's where I expect it to stay as of right now, all right? We'll keep an eye on the southern end. But anyway, what we're kind of watching here is, does this line clip us, okay? Does this come in and kind of do that and get our northern tier counties near the lake, okay? That's question number one. Question number two, and this is a question. I'm a meteorologist, and I'm supposed to have all the answers. However, we don't have all the answers in terms of thunderstorms and how they develop. And the reason why is they're not winter storms. It's not a slow moving event where we know how, we can guess how much snow is going to fall or how much rain is going to fall with something. These are literally contingent on what's happening minute by minute. So, if this huge line is putting down a ton of rain and hail, we get air that's coming down within that line and we get an outflow boundary from it. That outflow boundary produces the strong wind you feel out in advance of a storm. Okay. Have you ever been out in front of a storm and then the wind picks up? You're like, ooh, a storm's coming because the wind's picking up. That wind is coming off of all of this heavy rain that's rushing to the ground within the storm. All that brings air to the ground, and that air can't go in the ground, so it gushes out. And so that's why you get the wind in advance of a storm. I say all that because the outflow boundaries can create new thunderstorms, all right? And that's not something that's usually picked up in the modeling. That's something that we have to now cast, all right, based on what's happening now. So the second question I have, and again, this is a question because we just don't know it yet. The models are developing thunderstorms here. Okay, they're developing them in the next hour, and they have them, at least the HRRR model does, it has them developing as supercells. Does that happen? I can't pin, and the reason why I kind of doubt it's going to is because I can't pinpoint why it would happen. I always, as a meteorologist, want to ask why. Okay, we've got a couple things at play. I mean, there's a dry line that's pushing into this as well, kind of like what you'd see in Texas, because there's low dew point air that's pushing in. That can help to kind of kickstart things. So if that's right here, right now, does that get here and fire up a little round of storms there? More likely, what I think it's kind of picking up on and what I think could happen is as these storms get out over Lake Michigan, so let's say they're here, okay, what will happen is we'll get an outflow of that. All the rain hitting out over the lake is bringing that cold lake air. Remember, there's a dome of cold air out over the lake because the lake water temperature is cold, right? And so all that rain will bring all that cold air down to the ground and make it come down even faster because it's even colder. And then it will come out. We'll have outflow boundaries kind of like this. And so what I think the modeling is picking up on is the fact that we have that happening. And what that could do is trigger, some storms to develop here at the same time as that line's going across the lake. So the line will move in like this. And then once it hits Lake Michigan, it'll kind of evolve and kind of expand a little bit. And that would bring more of this stormy action into Northwest Indiana. Newton, Jasper County, I got to tell you, if something doesn't develop in Kankakee County out towards the west, like the models are saying, I don't see how we get anything at all for you, okay? And we mentioned that as a distinct possibility as well, that we could have spots here in Northwest Indiana that don't see anything at all. The whole time we're forecasting for scattered storms, all right? Scattered means not everyone sees it. So I could see that happening for you, and it would just be our northern counties, and maybe just the northern part of Lake Porter and LaPorte counties that we're keeping an eye on as this line moves in, okay? So still a lot up in the air on this, and it'll be decided here in the next hour and a half to 2 hours to see if that actually evolves or not, all right? So that's kind of what we're watching there. That was the long answer for James and Nancy's question, which was how long do we have to watch out for the storms? So there's that. Junie says, I shouldn't be this anxious about severe weather in February. I know. I couldn't sleep last night, which is crazy. My brain was just going storm mode. I don't know what it is. Yeah, Jennifer, for sure. I know the idea of tornadoes is scary. And John, JP, I didn't see your comment till just now, but absolutely. And that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking would happen once those storms hit out over the lake. We get an outflow off the lake that would trigger more storms here in the region. But I don't know if they would go supercell in nature. I would imagine it'd be more just kind of a cluster that develops. So we'll see. Adrian has a great comment. 3-year-old is meowing at me in my lap right now. Oh my gosh, that's just great. That's awesome. Let's see. Justin reporting a tornado on the ground and Spring Green. Yeah, I don't have a feed to what's actually going on in these storms, but I believe it, Justin. Yeah, keep us updated on what's on the ground back there. Crystal, I'm not too sure about that. Storm Chasers and Rensselaer right now. Storm Chasers put in a lot of miles without seeing anything. So we'll see. We do have to watch because the southern appendage, things can get real squirrely on the southern appendage of lines, okay? Because it's kind of fresh development down there. It's not being influenced by anything but itself. you can tend to get, I mean, we're already starting to see kind of a little hook there. You can tend to get some weird things. And so, if that southern appendage translates, let's say it just translates like this through the region, and then we get some more interaction with thunderstorms coming off the lake, whatever it happens to be, things could get a little squirrely with that. Okay. But as of right now, I'm telling you, there are some good signs that we may thread the needle, especially our southern counties, all right, from this. And I hope that happens. I hope we don't have any rain here in the region from this. That would be great. JP, you're absolutely welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate your comment. Very nice of you. Let's see. What else am I missing here? Oh, that's interesting. So Caitlin said, just went for a walk with the dog, can hear it faintly. Yeah, you can hear the rumbles of thunder in the distance. The clouds are pretty high in the sky. Let me check latest heights. Last I knew they were around 30,000, which is real decent for this time of year. Let me see what we've got here. Oh, we can actually check it on here. I keep forgetting I have our radar app up. I should probably put this into motion so we can kind of look at the motion of this here. And let's go to all sorts of cool things that you can check on here. If any of you are weather junkies, which a lot of you are, I love to teach, so there's that. If you have RadarScope app or whatever it happens to be, and you've got all these different big words, okay, let's say you have a radar app and you have all these different big words down here and you don't know what they mean. There's a lot of cool things in there. So what I'm going to look at are echo tops, first of all. So we're going to see how high these clouds are. This big circle right here is because that's where the radar beam is. It actually shoots out and up. So it's not getting any data up above it. That's why it looks like a giant donut. But you can see that we've got echo tops that are still 30,000 feet. Almost, there you go. Some 40,000 foot tops. So when I say tops, that means top of the clouds. These are some real decent storms. I saw those from some of the storm chasers earlier this evening that, they had some video going into these storms. I mean, it looks like summertime outside. It's unbelievable. So you can tap into some real good hail with that, with big cloud tops like that. And that's certainly what we're seeing. And, there's a lot of dynamic nature to these versus something you normally expect in late February. The other thing I want to go back to is, let me see. We could check this. If you ever see the word vertically integrated liquid, or VIL, as we call it in the meteorological world, that's hail. Okay. So here's where your hail is within the storm right now. Big old hailstones falling. This may be 5 minutes old. Sometimes the radar scans every 5 minutes with the hail. I would imagine it might be a little bit further east right now, but there's some big hail. Elgin, I would imagine it's getting into Schaumburg, Aurora right now too. But it looks like as of right now, the hail is going to miss us. We'll keep an eye on the southern appendage to that. And then we'll go back to reflectivity. So reflectivity shows how heavy the rain is. That's it. And it is really coming down out towards our west. So we can go 3D, make it look all fancy. There you go. I know it looks good graphically, but it doesn't really tell you a whole lot. It tells you it's heavy rain. Okay, but that's neat to look at. Anyway, my point on the cloud tops is the fact that these are 35,000 feet up in the sky. You can see them from Northwest Indiana. If you look off towards the north and the west, you can probably see some lightning right now up inside the clouds, because there's quite a bit of lightning with this. All right, so that's that. All right, so there's our storms. Gosh, I was going to do something else. I totally forgot what it was. We'll just get back to your questions if you have them. Okay. Anne has a really good question. I don't know if I want to tell you though, Anne. Anne says, what can we expect for the morning commute tomorrow? And we're going to have snow showers around for the morning commute tomorrow. How about that? It is going to be windy and cold. We're going to have wind chill values tomorrow morning in the teens. Hi, honey. You can come in. That's fine. Okay. Everyone knows you guys, so you can come say hi. Yeah. So you want to go? Your camera's right here. It's not a real good camera. My good camera died. This is my daughter, Emmy. Did you just draw this, honey? No. Oh, you didn't? I draw it a long time ago. I tried good night because I didn't want to disturb you. You can disturb me anytime you want. That's great. Thank you, honey. I appreciate it.
Even when you're in work and you need it.
This isn't work. This is my hobby. We've already established that. So, yeah, at work, you can't bother me, but I'm at the TV station. So there's that. Okay. Look at those storms. Impressive, huh?
How when you're doing radio, can I disturb you?
No, not when I'm doing radio, honey. You can't do that. All right.
I said it that anytime I want.
Well, I didn't mean at any time. Radio is all about voice. So broadcast is about visual, and it's okay to see kids every now and then.
I like overlapping lines.
Well, the people there have a tornado warning, so we don't really want those overlapping lines. Okay, go to bed, all right? Thank you. Hug. Love you. All right. I'm going to show you the picture. This is cute. Cute. Look at that dragon. It's really good. Okay. All right. Bedtime. All right. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
It's awesome. Future meteorologist. We'll see. I tell her to stay out of it, though. It's great if you love it. All right. So that's that. What was I getting into? Answering questions. Paul's got a good update for us. He says, real nice shot of one on the ground, tornado on the ground in Hinckley. Darren Fitzsimmons, handy cam worthy. Awesome. You know what? I've got on here. Let me get rid of that. Everyone's saying hi to Emmy. That's great. Stuff's not clicking very well. It tells me maybe I'm over my bandwidth right now. So that's that's great. If it's slowing down and lagging for you, I'm just going to restart. Let me pull up on here. We do have, it's called Cycloport Network, which are some of our storm chasers. I'm going to turn this on. There are a couple that will not let you broadcast, and it's this one that won't, but these guys are cool with it. I'm going to give them full credit, though. This is Brad Arnold. All right. He's a storm chaser, and he's got a shot, and see the video. This is the streaming video up towards the top. Probably get some lightning in there. The others real quick. Everyone seems to be converging on the southern point here. So this is Brandon Kopik with chaserweather.net. So support them if you can. We have no affiliation, but we're using their video, so we have to give them cred. And they're just in traffic right now. So there's that. Yeah. It stinks at night. You can't see anything until you're on it, right? So there's that. And they're all south. They're too far south of this tornado warned storm to be able to see that. But I'll tell you what, I'm getting alerts our fridge doors open. Jeez. It's like beeping. It sounds like a smoke detector. Anyway, I think what these storm chasers are setting up at is with this southern appendage here to see if anything happens with this. So let's take a look at that. And I'm just trying to plan things out here, guys. I don't want to wait. You're not wasting my time ever. Okay. I don't ever want you to think that. Okay. If I'm on here, it's for good cause. And if you guys need me to be on here, I'll stay on. But I don't ever want to waste your time. And I can keep an eye on these storms. Josh, did you hear that in the background? He asked if the refrigerator's running. Did you hear that? Or are you just saying that because I said it? That's crazy. Yeah, it's dinging in the background and it's like 2 rooms away. Anyway, I don't ever want to waste your time. All right. And these storms are still an hour out. We'll see if they develop lakeshore wise. But it's dinging again. But if these continue to trend out over the lake, there's no reason for us to be on here for the region. Okay. It's going to be a miss to the north. If we're going to get clipped in our northern counties, that's a different scene. So I'm trying to form a plan of action here because I kind of went into this and just wanted to chat weather with you guys. I'm probably going to let you go. All right. And I'm probably going to put my PJs on and put my hat on, my little sleeping hat. I don't really have a sleeping hat because I've got a morning show that starts in 6 hours. Okay. 7 hours, 7.5 hours. And I have to get some sleep sometime in between there. So there's that. So I want to answer your questions. I want to make sure everyone feels good about how tonight's going to go. Okay. Because we still have some questions on tonight. And if something happens, I'll pop right back on later on tonight. Okay. I'll set my alarms, all that, or my notifications and all that. So I don't want to waste your time. Okay. There's no immediate threat right now. So there's that. Let me jump on. Debbie, I grabbed your comment there. Caitlin asks, Matt, is this the only system to watch out for? I think that's a great question. Caitlin, and it is. This really is the only system to watch out for, okay? But this system is more than what it seems. There's your new tornado warning, including O'Hare and Evanston up towards Waukegan. Wilmette's in this. Old Orchard, the mall. Love that mall. Anyway, tornado warning. So if you've got friends or family up here north of Chicago, Evanston north, pretty much O'Hare north, please let them know they've got a new tornado warning. They should know, but just in case. Anyway, let me get back to a couple of things here. So Caitlin, to answer your question, there's kind of more to this than what it seems. As this goes out over the lake, I've got 2 questions. Okay, these are the 2 ways we get hit with storms tonight, because right now it doesn't look like it, right? Does this southern edge, does this clip our northern counties? Something like that, okay? That would bring non-tornadic storm, probably some gusty winds with it, into our northern counties, all right? The other thing is models are picking up on thunderstorms developing in this circled area, okay? There's nothing there right now, but the models are developing supercells there within the next hour, all right? I'm trying to figure out why they're latching onto that. Not saying they're right, okay? Doesn't mean they're right. Let me see what we've got here. New tornado warning. I think that's just the O'Hare one. Yeah, that's the O'Hare one. I'm just getting updates on that. That's good. Okay. The models, I'm wondering why they're doing that. All right. And kind of what we've deciphered through broadcasts here is that once this line right here gets out over the lake, there's going to be a lot of heavy rain falling on a very cold dome of air out over the lake because it's cold out over the lake. It's wintertime, right? So as that heavy rain comes down, it's going to take more cold air down to the ground and it's going to push it out. And so my thinking is just, I mean, what I think is going to happen is that we're going to have more of an outflow that develops out of that. So that cold air hits the ground. Cold air is heavy and dense, so it sinks more, right? And so I think we'll develop a stronger wind off the lake once that line gets out over the lake. And what that wind can do is it can hit our still kind of warm and humid air mass because the cold air is not quite here yet. And it could develop thunderstorms, but it would have to wait until this line is out over the lake. So in another hour or so. That's my only thought in terms of what's developing these storms. We can look through upper air and see if there's any area of lift or anything. I don't see an area of energy coming through that would support that lift. That's the only thing in my mind that will create that. So, Caitlin, to answer your question is, and yes, and Kayla, you're asking the same thing about Michigan City. You have a better chance, Kayla, in Michigan City than anyone else does because these storms are going to be out over the lake. So they may come off the lake with some strong winds for you. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. Skylar, funny comment. That's good. That's good. But either way, that's kind of what we're waiting on, Caitlin. That would be what we kind of see happening. Okay. So let's see. I want to go back to the velocity again. Let's go back to velocity. So when we look at this, it shows how heavy the rainfall is. That's it. Okay. We have to look at velocity to see. I'm going to go high res velocity. I don't like storm relative. So we have to go to this map, this radar, which shows the wind inside the storm system to see where the tornado threat is. Okay. And we still have a very large tornado warning, and rightfully so, because this line has had a history. And Paul was saying that there's a couple tornadoes or tornado on the ground with this, which I totally believe it. I'm not at work, so I don't have my 8 monitor set up, so I don't have a feed telling me what's actually happening on the ground. Okay. If this was heading into Northwest Indiana, trust me, I'd have that feed because that's important. But I'm not saying I don't care. It's not relevant to Northwest Indiana right now. But that's big news, right? And I would imagine something is happening within this. Right here is your tornado, or where the biggest tornado warning is, just north of Schaumburg right now, heading towards Palatine. Excuse me, battling a cold for 8 weeks. Arlington Heights as well. There's a tornado warning for this cluster down here. I don't see much going on within the system. Let's put this into a loop, though, so we can kind of see how it's behaved here over the last couple scans. And if you guys can see that, I mean, just radar analysis wise, you guys see how there's like that kink? It looks like a little loop right there. That's your tornado threat. And we probably had one. The good news is it's becoming more linear there. But this one right here, this is where your tornado's on the ground, if there's one on the ground right now. That's real gate to gate shear with that. Real strong little velocity peak right there. We may have another area of rotation right here. There's kind of another one right there. I think that's the reason for that northern warning. The southern one looks like it's looking a lot better. So that's good news. And see, they just dropped. No, they just reissued it. It just popped off and on. So that's that. Yeah, I mean, the storm, as of right now, all the tornadic stuff within the storm is going to go north of Chicago, which is good. This is what we want to see coming in. And this is what I like for us here in the region is you notice the winds. I don't want to say the word kinky, but they are off towards, there's kinks in it, right? There's a kink here. There's a kink here. All right. I don't like that word. Either way, that's what's happening off towards the north. Okay, that's your biggest tornado threat. Notice how this is linear. The wind is very linear down towards the south. We want to keep it linear. Okay, there's damaging wind potential with that, but there's not a tornado threat with that. Okay, as long as things remain linear and the wind is going one direction, you've got the cold air rushing in with that wind shift, and it stays linear, it's fine. It's when they get those little kinks, kind of like a hose, right, where you get little kink in it. That's where you get the spin up. All right, and that's certainly what we're seeing off towards the north. But this looks good as of right now for Northwest Indiana. Does this start to play with the lake, though? Do we get outflow boundaries off of this? We can get some squirrely things off the lake as wind shift. That can spin up its own thing. So let's keep it like this for now. And hopefully that kind of translates east. And hopefully we don't get any rain at all out of this. That would be a best case scenario. But we'll see kind of where we go from this. Okay. So there's that. Someone closed the refrigerator door. That's great. Okay. So that's kind of where we are right now. All right. Jason says we're going to go to the land of Oz. I hope not, Jason. Yeah. So Caitlin, there's incredible wind with this. She said the video of people on tollway in Illinois driving through Barrington, wind is strong. There's an incredible wind with this, especially, excuse me, this section right here. This is an incredible burst of wind and probably a tornado still, just to the northwest of Palatine. All right, that's going to head up into the Vernon Hills area. Arlington Heights is going to get some strong wind as well. All this is very strong wind. Okay, what we're looking at here. This is all real good wind right on this leading edge. As you'd expect with the line of storms coming in, we tend to get real strong winds. There's still some decent wind going through Naperville. This isn't quite as strong. That's the good news, but it's still there nonetheless, okay? So damaging wind is a threat from this. Yes, JP, absolutely, yeah. Linear means more, not necessarily more stable storms, just less chaotic within that storm, okay? If we see something that's linear in terms of the wind within the storm system, it poses more of a damaging wind risk rather than a tornado risk. Okay, your tornadoes come from when it's not in a line, and that's good. I like what I'm seeing right now in terms of tornado threat for us here in the region. Okay, Crystal asked a great question. Angel, you're welcome. Kayla, it does look like fireworks on the map. I know these colors, and I can choose the colors, and I choose the ones that I think pop the most. And you know, it looks crazy, but at least you see it, right? Crystal asked a great question. When will the wind hit Northwest Indiana? So Crystal, in general, once this system goes through, this is your frontal boundary right here, folks. I mean, this is where the cold air starts gushing in. And whoa, I'm still drawn. There's a real strong northwest wind on the backside. This is where your temperature drop is. So temperature is already dropping back in Western Illinois. Here's your warm air with the southerly flow, right? So the wind is really going to howl once the system moves through. But in terms of the radar itself and these thunderstorms, we're not even sure these are going to hit Northwest Indiana yet. Okay, we're keeping our eye on the northern counties. Let me get back to reflectivity mode. Let's see here. There we go. So, you know, the big question is, do they clip our northern counties? So does the southern end kind of go through as it translates east and get our northern counties, okay? Because there's nothing doing, and the models picked up nicely on this. There's nothing doing down towards the south, okay? So Newton, Jasper County, we'll see what happens. The front's not here yet, and we can't clear us out till the front is by. But Newton, Jasper County, I mean, it's looking like a real low odd that you're going to get anything from this storm system other than a giant temperature drop and some strong winds, because there's going to be some real strong winds on the backside. Paul, thank you for that update. Paul says a tornado report in Palatine by a chaser. Paul, that's that storm we were watching. I do not doubt it. That's out of all the storms right now, that's the biggest signal for a tornado right now. And it just went northwest of Palatine, going to head towards Vernon Hills as we were looking at. David asking, do we have to hide in Porter County? David, absolutely not, my friend. No. There's no reason to hide. There's no reason to have any fear whatsoever going into this evening. Okay. Yeah, like an actual twister, Kayla. Yeah. Kyle, it is possible. You know, I mean, if we get a storm here tonight, then yes, hail's possible. We still do have a tornado threat. Our atmosphere is not tapped. We haven't had anything yet, right? But the possibilities there, and we hinted at this at the beginning of the broadcast. We were looking at some of the modeling. The last couple runs, they take this cluster of storms like this, okay? So these areas get rain and storms. And then they had another one way down to the south, And this whole area, which is almost all of Northwest Indiana, doesn't see a drop of rain. All right. There is potential for that. Okay. Some of the high res modeling, though, and the reason why we continue to watch these is because our atmosphere is ready to go. It doesn't always mean it goes, though. Right. But the potential is once this line gets out over the lake, that we could see enough outflow from it that it would kick. And this is all radar analysis. You don't need to know about this. But either way, sorry, I just like blocked everything on the screen. But either way, we could get enough outflow out of that off some storms as that cluster gets out over the lake. Okay, there's potential for that. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but the models are picking up on that. As a meteorologist, I'm trying to say, well, why are the models picking up on that? Why would there be rain? A lot of people take their phone app for granted in terms of what it says. I'm a meteorologist and I question everything that I see. All right. So if the computer model is showing that we're going to have storms at a certain time, you better bet I'm going to check and make sure that the storm track is lining up with that, that I agree with that's how things are developed. From my years experience of being a meteorologist and radar analysis, I'm going to check all that work. And so I'm trying to check that work and say, well, why are models right now developing stuff in the next 45 minutes down towards the south? And if that is the case, I think it's picking up on this line going out over the lake with outflow driven air. Okay. Let's see. Emma, same for LaPorte. I mean, we've got some time on this. LaPorte could get by without anything. I have my gut feeling tells me that this line goes out over the lake. I do think that we're going to get clipped in our northern counties. So that would include LaPorte. Will it be severe when it hits you? There's no telling yet. Damaging winds would be primary threat. But I have a feeling our northern counties are going to get something from this. Okay. Newton and Jasper County, even Stark County, I have a feeling you may not see anything, okay, tonight as the system kind of goes by. And by not seeing anything, I mean severe weather, okay? We're still all going to see a rapid temperature drop later tonight. We're going to get really strong winds gusting in here. We're certainly going to deal with that. But the tornado threat, as of right now, I'm not. Storm Prediction Center is still there. They've still got a real good risk over the region, rightfully so, because the atmosphere is ready for it. And I don't want to ever say this, and then we have a bad situation develop, but I'm not really crazy about our tornado threat here in the region. Okay. I never was with this. And you heard that the last couple of nights, right? But I don't want to say that. And then we have tornadoes. Okay. Because I can be wrong too. All right. It's an educated guess. Okay. But I'm not crazy about it. I tend to side with the HRRR, which takes this cluster out over the lake. I think it will develop some activity right along the lakeshore areas. But man, I don't see much else happening outside of that. Okay. So there's that. Ground stop at O'Hara Midway. Thank you for that update, Caitlin. She's watching, I think, ABC on the side. I have a feeling. JD, good to join us there, JD. Appreciate it. He says, sorry I was late to this. That's okay. Any snow and ice in Valpo overnight? Great question, JD. The snow is going to arrive tomorrow morning. All right. So we're talking 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning is when we start to flirt around with some snow chances. I don't see a lot of snow from this, but I do see some snow from this. I think we'll have snowflakes flying for the morning rush hour tomorrow. Could get a quick coating tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, it depends on what you define by morning or overnight. Overnight, no. But as we get into the morning hours, like 4, 5, 6 o'clock, that's when temperatures are going to be cold enough for any water to start to freeze. I don't see a big flash freeze. Reason why the wind is going to be so gusty on the backside, it'll help to dry things up. The wind does a really good deal with drying things up, but we'll see. Okay. Heather asked a good question. If it does clip the northern counties, do you know when? So Heather, yes, great question. This is probably in another hour. It would probably be here. So we're talking 8:45. So I would say 9 o'clock in Lake County, and then 9:30, 10, 9. I would say anywhere between, I'd go 8:45 Central Time to 11 o'clock from west to east. It would clip our northern counties. Okay. That's just what I'm guesstimating. If this thing stays out of the lake, great. All right. But it could develop a little bit further south. The severity of it, though, I mean, what we need to watch is how this develops here. Okay, what is this portion of the storm doing? Because this is what we'd get. There are damaging winds with this. Okay, so there are some strong winds. There is a little bit of hail as well. But, as far as a tornado threat, there isn't one right now with that. What we could see, though, I mean, you can get little supercells that develop and kind of feed into that main line when it's going through. I got to be careful when I'm drawing there. It could feed into that main line, and that would be a risk as well. So this guy has the right idea. This is a storm chaser. Let me give him full credit. This is Brad Arnold. He is a storm chaser. He's providing this video, and you can see all the lightning with that. He's at the southern end of that. Is that a wall cloud? Storm cloud. But this is what they're dealing with. There's a live view of it. And again, Brad Arnold here, everybody. This is footage from a storm chaser, not ours, but he is a storm chaser, and Brad is doing a great job. Tracking these storms here. Brad is just south of Bolingbrook. I keep going full screen, and I don't mean to. Sorry to make you guys dizzy. Just figuring out these controls. There's that. Okay. All right, Brad. There you go, Brad. Okay. So he's got some rain. Look at all that lightning. I could watch this all day. Oh no. I'm covering it up with the sponsors. I'm sorry. We'll move it over there for you. Kind of cool. So Brad is right here. I think he's giving us a chase. And so they're just like, heck with it. I'm just going into the storm because they want something out of it. Let's check this guy. This guy's been nice too. This is Brandon Kopik. He's with chaserweather.net. His camera's point lightning with that as well. So there's that. And then there's this guy down here. This is Corey Gherkin. Corey has not quite the camera quality of the others. It's tough to see. And you can see lightning in the distance, so kind of cool. So Corey's out and about as well. Kind of a cool storm chaser network we have here with this radar product, okay? All right, guys. Listen, I don't want anyone to be scared the rest of the evening, okay? I'm getting real tired, and I've got a morning show coming up. I'm going to keep my alerts on. So if anything gets issued for Northwest Indiana, I will post about it. Okay. We'll keep you updated. All right. If something's going on. Okay. So I will sleep very lightly tonight. I promise. But again, I've got a day job. I'm a morning meteorologist, and our hours are awful. And I'm usually in bed about 2 hours ago. Okay. Mike, I hope that's a joke. Mike says, and I don't want to get into this. It's too late. He says they were chemtrailing like crazy over the weekend. Mike, I have some people I get emails almost every day on chemtrails. Okay. Which is the stuff, if you guys aren't aware, it's the stuff that it's a condensation of vapor from the jets that fly up above. And a lot of folks, there's a good community. Mike, I don't know if you're with that or not. I'm not judging. There's a big community that thinks that all the jets are poisoning us. And that's what creates severe weather. All right. And if that's the way we're going to go out by being chemtrailed, hey, more power to us. It's fantastic. But I stand by the belief that is not possible. It's possible that they could spray stuff out of that, but the atmosphere is so volatile, and we've got updrafts that are going at 100 miles per hour upwards, that chemtrail doesn't stand a chance at making it to the ground. Okay, so there's that. Okay. So what we will do is I'm going to let you go. We'll have updates. What I will do is I will post an update if needed. Just kind of a general synopsis from here on out. We still have a tornado watch. We've got about another 2 hours, okay, to keep an eye on these. As of right now, the southern flank of this line would just clip our northern counties and the northern part of those counties, okay? Once this gets out over the lake, it may behave a little bit differently. The worst of it's missing us, okay? The worst of it's going to go out over the lake. But our big question is, does this develop and kind of bubble its way further south as it moves east? Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. But that's what we're going to be watching, okay? But it's not a huge, this isn't going to be a big, robust, everyone's going to get tornadoes tonight, okay? There's still a small chance for that. There's still a small chance for severe weather. There's a much larger chance tonight that you're not even going to have a drop of rain where you live, okay? And that's a good thing. We hinted at that earlier this afternoon, that there was a chance. I put it in all my posts just to give you a precursor. And it looks like that's going to happen. So we'll see. Okay. All right, guys, I do appreciate you spending your time with us. Kimberly, you're welcome. Emmy hopefully is well asleep right now. And thank you guys for certainly joining us here tonight. I do appreciate you spending your time. Okay. All right. Be safe. We'll have updates as needed. Should get a good lightning show out over the lake, if nothing else. All right. If you guys look north when this is moving out over the lake, should get some good lightning with it. I just want to see that last. Okay. We're still good. I thought I saw Southern jog to the entire line. Okay. Worst case. All right. Talk to you guys soon. We'll keep you updated. All right.